Hi, and welcome to Tutorial on JavaScript. In today's tutorial, I'll be discussing the loops. Loops are essential to coding because it allows us to execute code multiple times. There are three different kinds of loops. There is a while loop, a do-while loop, and a for loop. This will be part one of three videos on loops. In part one, I will be discussing the while loop. The while loop is done by using the word while, and then in parentheses, create a condition that has to be met for the code to execute. And then inside curly braces is where we're going to stick the code that gets executed every time a condition is met. So to do this, we're going to start out by creating a function. We're going to call this while loop, left and right parentheses, and curly braces. Within this function, we're going to start off by creating a variable. We're going to call variable I equals 1, and we're going to call variable output equals a string. Then going to create our loop. We do this by using the word while and then creating the parentheses with conditions that need to be met. In today's tutorial, we're going to actually print 1 to 10 out on the screen by going through the loop. So we need I to be less than or equal to 10 to do so. Within the loop, we then need to make output equal I with a break. So we do this by going output equals output plus I plus, and then inside the string we're going to do BR to do a line break. Well, what this is going to do is it's going to take the output that already exists, it's going to add the new output plus the I, which will be based on the incrementer I'm about to demonstrate to you, and then it's going to do a line break and going to stick the next value on a new line. Now we create an incrementer, which is to say adding a number to I, because this is going through our loop one by one and counting up, which will make it so that this condition can be met. So we start out with 1, and then I is going to go to 2, then I is going to go to 3, and I is going to go to 4. So it's incrementing by 1 each time the loop is executed. We can do this several different ways. We can do this simply by doing an I plus plus, which is a shorthand way of an incrementer. We can also do an I equals I plus 1, which is to say I, which is the current value, plus 1. So it'd be 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then if it went through again, it'd be 2 plus 1 equals 3, and so on and so forth. That is another way we can do an incrementer. Another way we can do an incrementer is do a plus equals I. So, or 1. What this is going to do is this is saying I plus equals 1. So it's saying I equals I plus 1. If you have a plus in front of the equal signs, all it means is that this I also exists on the other side. It's just a shorthand way of doing something similar to this. It's the shorthand way. But for our purposes, we're just going to do a plus plus because it is the simpler method to increment by 1. Outside of the loop, we're now going to create the output that's going to be displayed to the user. We do this by using the HTML DOM, which is nothing more than the code of document.getElementById, in parentheses, the ID that we're going to get. I haven't created it yet, but we're just going to use the ID of while. And we're going to do in .inner HTML equals the output, because that is what's being stored each time the while loop is executed. Now that we have our code written, we need to come down to the body, and we actually need to create a button. And we're going to give this button a value of click me. We're going to make the button type equals button. And we need to give it an event handler, which we're going to use an onClick equals the function that needs to be executed when the button is clicked, which is this while loop. We now need to create a div that we need to give an ID of while, which is where our results are going to be displayed. Like so. We can go ahead and save this file. We refresh our page, and now you can see we get the button click me. Before I click this button, I'm going to run through the code and explain what is happening. The first thing you do is you click the button. On click, then goes up to the function while loop and executes the function that's inside the while loop. It sets the I variable equal to 1, the output variable equal to a string, and then it looks at this while loop. And it looks for is I less than or equal to 10. In this case, I equals 1, so 1 is less than or equal to 10, and then goes through this while loop, and then puts the new output, which will be output plus I plus a line break, and then we increment by 1, which means we're adding 1 to I. So now the variable I, 2, exists. And then it goes back to the while loop, and then it compares again. Is 2 less than or equal to 10? Yes, it is. And then it goes through the code again. And then it increments I by 1, so now I equals 3. It then goes through the loop again until the conditions are not met. In other words, I is not less than or equal to 10. So now that I have explained how this works, I'm going to go ahead and click this button, and as you can see, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on my screen. This means that we added 1 each time the loop executed. In closing, I have demonstrated to you how to create a while loop, how to create the conditions inside the while loop, and what an incrementer is. Thank you for watching.